Training in the Military by Bailey Cameron, Chelsea Seaman, Jamie Graham, and Adam Forstner. The Canadian Armed Forces is the modern military institution in Canada. It consists of the Royal Canadian Navy, the Royal Canadian Air Force, and the Canadian military. As an institution, it relies on a huge division of labor and resources in order to administer, drill, and execute. Canadian force bases are so vast and independent, they even have their own military police and fire departments, as well as local infrastructures. We chose this topic due to its wealth of history and information, as well as for its unique role in Canada and around the world. The two primary units we wish to discuss today are basic members and officers within the Canadian military. The scope of this institution demands a stringent focus on job analysis so as to ensure a high level of efficiency. Training methods are required to imitate situations in which the trainees must employ the appropriate behavior. This can be a complex process as the scenarios in which many of these trainees are being trained for can mean life or death. It will be the object of this presentation to understand what these methods are and how they are administered by the Canadian Armed Forces. Bam! Others. Officers are members of the Canadian Armed Forces institutions who have authority in a similar way as a supervisor would have authority in a civilian institution. The range of their responsibilities varies depending on the specific designation they are assigned to. Some examples include infantry officers, intelligence officers, social work officers, training development officers, and many others. Because the nature of the job varies, the training does too, both in terms of the designated training methods and the length of the training program. While the focus of this report will be narrowed on roles in the Canadian military, the same basic officer-infantry relationship exists in each section of the Canadian Armed Forces. Infantry member qualifications are much later than officer standards. The applicant must be 17 years of age with a minimum grade 10 education. This qualifies trainees for jobs in the regular force, which, following the completion of training, qualifies the trainee for active duty. The other option is joining as a reservist, a less demanding position in which the trainee commits to training 1 weekend a month and for 2 weeks each year. Reservists commit to part-time training but can be called to active duty if required, usually in the outbreak of a war. One element of training for officer positions is not actually provided directly by the Canadian Forces. To qualify as a candidate, aspiring officers must have a university degree. When applying for the position, the forces observe the focus of the academic program to determine whether it's a subject matter that would match the position that they are applying for. Another option provided by the military is a paid education program, wherein the candidates are paid to attend university, usually the Royal Canadian Military College in Kingston. In return, the candidates are required to serve 2 months for every month of paid education. The requirement of this achievement hopes to improve the aptitudes of the applicants interested in pursuing an officer program. The training, which occurs after this qualification, starts in Quebec, wherein participants train for 15 weeks for basic officer training. The basic training program for officers is called the Basic Military Officer Qualification. It differs from basic training for regular recruits in important ways. The primary difference is the officer is trained to eventually train other recruits and works to develop such skills as discipline training, administering drills, weapon skills training, working as a team, and a strenuous physical fitness component. Most of the prescribed training methods could be considered off-the-job methods, provided at designated training facilities throughout the country. This is almost by default, as the nature of the scenarios recruits are being trained contain a degree of urgency which demands the trainees be totally prepared before entering a real-life scenario. It is obvious that a blended delivery is highly preferred, as it increases the likelihood of transfer. The urgency of the effectiveness of transfer is higher for the military because, when it matters, the stakes are high. When the basic military officer qualifications have been met, the recruits are then sent to the base in Gagetown, wherein they are instructed on primary leadership skills. The nature of the training remains split between instructional training and physical training. A significant focus of this portion of training is to transfer the ability to command a platoon. While some of the professional training which occurs in Gagetown is classroom-based, a significant portion is dedicated to weapons training and military vehicle training. Other specialty training can also be provided on a case-by-case basis, depending on the nature of both the position and where the training will be posted. The Canadian Forces may sponsor training in a second language from a third party. For example, parachute training, freefall training, and the Patrol Pathfinder course. For the sake of simplicity, we will analyze only one position of a regular force member, the infantry soldier. We will narrow our focus due to the wide range of possible positions a regular force basic member can have.
Recruits start by pursuing the basic military qualification, a course offered in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. This course consists of the basic training goals common to all military members, including core skills and knowledge common to all trades. A significant part of this stage of training is the physical fitness standard, which is set high and tested regularly. Physical testing includes a lot of running to measure and develop cardiovascular ability, strength building through bodyweight exercises, and obstacle courses used to bring these capacities together and to measure overall performance. Instructors design training in such a way that forces recruits to depend on each other. Recruits spend a lot of time together, they eat, sleep, and together. A culture of interdependency is developed in basic training. An issue which has arisen within this framework is the extent to which trainees are pushed to succeed in their physical training. As more and more women pursue careers in armed forces institutions around the world, it has become clear that women are more prone to overuse, exercise-related injuries, especially when the target standards for men and women are the same. An ongoing debate today is whether the fitness standards should be different for men and women. On one side, some argue that the nature of the work for which recruits are being trained for demands an objective of physical health, which could put recruits in danger should they not be able to attain it. The other side says that a fair policy demands women be provided the same opportunities for military employment as men and must be given an alternative standard. In Canada, the physical standards are reduced for female recruits. These training methods target a number of potential capacities and include physical training, classroom work, including assignments and testing, simulations, especially for RCAF recruits, case studies, behavior modeling, among others. The nature of basic training for regular force infantry soldiers is comparable to officer training in many ways, especially the basic training qualification. However, a significant portion of time is spent on physical training for infantry soldiers. While officers work to develop leadership skills, infantry soldiers are trained to be highly skilled in the use of weaponry, vehicles, among other designations, artillery, and heavy weapons. In this way, training methods for the two groups must vary. Behavior modeling is a commonly used training method for infantry soldiers in the early stages of training because the job is task-oriented. So how is the performance of the outlined training programs evaluated? It is expected that recruits maintain their physical health up to a specifically designated standard known as the MPFs, the Minimum Physical Fitness Standard, which they are tested on each year. The strong emphasis on physical conditioning in early stages of training has created a success rate of 97.3% on the commonly administered CF Express test. Passing this basic physical test demonstrates the readiness for deployment of the recruit, as well as the attainment of the basic military qualifications. This demonstrates the effectiveness of the physical training for infantry members, but assessing officers is a fundamentally different process. In many ways, the officer is a leadership position, wherein the recruit is placed in charge of other members. They are judged on their ability to instruct and lead other members, as well as on their ability to use complex weaponry and vehicles. Performance evaluation will be highly dependent on the performance of those the officer is responsible for. All members of the Canadian Forces are subject to an annual review on the basis of performance appraisal. This process is called the CFPAS, Canadian Forces Performance Appraisal System, the purpose of which is potential retention or promotion of both officers and infantry soldiers. This system is used to review performance, professional development, and potential for future position in the Canadian Forces. Overall, we found this independent study to be a good way to conceptualize and apply the ISD model, as well as understand the Canadian Armed Forces as an interdependent and complex institution, comprising of numerous factions, ranks, and roles. We were able to see how the institution conducts needs analysis, the delivery of training, and observe various training evaluation criteria. Training design and delivery methods reinforce important facts about the nature of work performed by Canadian military recruits, both infantry and officer. This strict, discipline-oriented training design model fashions physically fit recruits capable of performing designated tasks under immense pressure, and the officers needed to instruct and lead them.